I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here.
This battalion commander is finally being fired, and many people are happy about it because I made a video about this only a couple months ago, and that was in the late of 2023, where this battalion commander had linked the Abbey Gate situation from the Afghan pullout to complacency issues. I will play that part of the clip right here because I think that's important to catch you guys up. They say 2-1 was getting ready to redeploy when they got the call. Do you think they were ready about to redeploy? They were complacent. When everything went down, not to speak ill of the dead, but they weren't prepared. Lieutenant Colonel Amelia's input on the casualties of HKIA Kabul, Afghanistan. And it says 1-4's battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel CJ Amelia, had a surprise service Charlie's inspection within 48 hours notice. Battalion Sergeant Major F. Adu compared it to being prepared for combat. Because in that 48 hours, Marines weren't able to get their Charlies ready and looked bad in the uniforms, wrinkled, not fitting right, etc. Then said, if your dress uniforms aren't ready at a moment's notice, how can you be ready to load on a bird and go fight at a moment's notice? To which the BC then referred to 2-1's responding to HKIA and how they were complacent, comparing our uniform inspection to their mission in Kabul and how they were killed because of complacency. Now, just for reference here, I'm going to show pictures of both Lieutenant Colonel CJ Amelia first of 1-4, and then I'm also going to show you Sergeant Major F. Adu. I want you to pay close attention to both of these. Do you see anywhere as the story of what is on their chest is written in their ribbon? Now, that did come with backlash from many people across social media, and they came out with this entire rant. I made another video that was talking about that, where essentially they were saying that they were taken out of context, that they understood what they meant, and this became a feud that it was the sergeant major of the command along with this battalion commander that were saying, like, you knew what we meant, and they were telling people to pretty much calm down about this.
Clearly, I own the lack of clarity that came across with my statements. I own that. There's a burden of command when you speak. It's got impact, and it's not always received well. Even death threats and weird emails and your likeness and your names are like posted all over the fucking place. You know, I mean, it's pretty interesting, you know, to walk in, check your email on the gal, and have at least 10 emails about how big of a piece of shit you are, right? And how you don't deserve to lead a battalion. That's pretty significant, right? You know, and I'd ask you to put yourself in our position. But again, there's burden of command. Second, to clarify the point, when talking about complacency, no way was I communicating that 2-1 was complacent. As Marine Corps, as a nation, you know, we get complacent. After 20 years of war, you know, doing the same thing over and over again, it becomes habit of action, right? That also dulls the skills, right? We're fighting in the desert. If we got to fight in the jungle, are we ready to fight in the jungle if we've been fighting in the desert? Probably not. Like, there are two things that scare me, that like keep me up at night, and I mean this. One is sending my children out into a world and them getting chewed up. Two is taking whatever unit I'm leading into combat and not being ready. I've said this before. We as a Marine Corps have gotten away from talking about what we do, especially in the infantry. It's an ugly thing. It's a hard thing. And it comes at a significant cost of human capital. And I'll tell you, I'm knocked on my heels. I shouldn't be, but I'm knocked on my heels. When these things go down, like the example I used on Friday, when this guy went down, I was the one who stood up with the crisis action team here in the regiment. We were day on, stay on for 60 days. The first 72 hours were the worst. Trying to figure it all out. Like, no sleep, reports were all like jacked up, conflicting, and it was rough. And I'll tell you, like about 7 days in, it was crushing. But again, not there, right? Didn't experience the worst day of my life there, right? Like, you know, but trying to support that from however many thousand miles away, 7 days in, I'll tell you, whether it was coordinating with Keikos, coordinating, like, you know, with the wounded, like having to get everybody back, personal effects, you name it. You know, I mean, there was a moment where I came home one night and I was like, fuck, boom, right? Just fucking broke down. The emotional strain and stress of it all, the gravity of all the lives that were lost. Like, something that I say that rubs you raw, or something that you disagree with, my door is always open. And if it's closed, knock. I prefer that, talking adult to adult, but it's having to deal with some anonymous comment that may be taken out of context that spreads across the world, and every time it spreads, it's just growing. Like it's like a tall tale, right? Like, you know, by the time like it reaches somebody, they're like, I can't believe you fucking did this, you piece of shit, right? Just come talk to me.
And after that, even with those things going out where there's outrage within the command and the public, they did not relieve this commanding officer. However, now we're actually seeing that as he's actually been fired and removed from the page as well. Task and Purpose wrote, the commander of Marine Infantry Battalion in the 1st Marine Division has been fired for the Marine Corps called, quotations, loss of trust and confidence in his ability to continue to serve in that position, according to the statement from the division. And they say on March 26th, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Amelia was relieved as the commander of 1st Battalion, 4th Marine Regiment by Major General Benjamin T. Watson, commanding general of the 1st Marine Division. The division statement to Task and Purpose said, there is no more sacred position in this division than that of the commanding officer, Watson said in the statement. Our Marines and sailors deserve the absolute best leadership and the Marine Corps can offer, and I'm committed to providing them with the leadership they deserve, Watson said. And they pretty much go on to say, like, this could be for a multitude of reasons. There are very few instances I've covered on this channel where they've gone in depth. That's usually if there is an investigation that actually shows why. The Marine Corps has had a slew of firings recently, comparatively to other branches. And all of them say the same thing. It's to show face. These people can still have careers after the military and pretty much say, you weren't good enough for us, but you can still work and do whatever else afterwards. We'll make you color in the corner and sit at a desk until your retirement papers get cleared. Now, because this case had so much sensitive matters in regards to the complacency of Abbey-gate and people very outraged about that, essentially there are people that are very happy with this firing, and I'd say most people across social media are more shocked this didn't happen sooner, but this is what they have to say. Leby says, I have heard about too many of these to not be suspicious of, quotations, loss of trust and confidence, end quotes. Either they are promoting too many subpar officers or they are getting rid of men of honor who won't play their crooked games. Eric Grohl, top fan, said, good. This was the guy who criticized 2-1 saying that they were complacent prior to the bombing. And even someone giving him crap for not having a combat action ribbon, Amanda Post wrote, I'm not sure I would trust an infantry officer in 2024 with 18 to 20 years of service that doesn't have a combat action ribbon. That was a lot of time between 2004 and 2024 that he never was in combat, question mark. So even back in the original videos, people did question that as well, as saying that's why they should knock him down and not really looking at him as a credible person to have this stance that if Abbey-gate was an issue and complacency per se, that he could really relate that to failing a uniform inspection or something like that. It is unfortunate that we cannot see why he was fired, but I know I like to cover stories where I believe a lot of people that were in the comments on those past videos were like, what's going to happen with this guy? So eventually he was fired. And he was not seen competent or a fit, I would say, to make command and move forward with his career. And essentially this is where it's at. And mind you, this can be for a multitude of reasons, but I do wonder if any of this has to deal with the ability to have a unit come together to deploy. There were people even across social media, I do not want to link timelines or whatever else, that were saying they had knowledge that this unit might be deploying at some time. I'm making it very vague because I'm not trying to put anything out there, and I think people need to be more cautious repercussions of that, and saying that essentially this would be a sign as to a very big problem, because that would mean that they're not looking to keep him even when he probably did the workup for them to be able to deploy, and that would signify other issues as well. But those are just speculations, right? I'm just putting that out there. Some of this is speculation, but I'd like to wrap up that story there. So I would like to ask the question, as I do with every video here, is essentially, with these loss of trust and confidence, do you think that the Marine Corps or the military in general should be more specific on this, or do you believe that some of these handlings on the lower level behind closed doors are more appropriate to allow people to still maybe have more successful careers leaving the military because they don't want to air out all that dirty laundry afterwards? Just let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, because I think that's where the conversation continues. But as always, if you guys like what I cover on the channel, hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.